All right, so welcome to the Salesforce Admin Enablement Kit. For this run through and demonstration of what it can be as an inspiration, I am going to be Maria Suarez of Northern Trail Outfitters, who is an amazing, awesome admin. And I'm going to walk through this deck as though maybe she is walking through it for her stakeholders to explain what she does as an admin and how she does it. Again, this is an inspiration, so please don't copy it verbatim, but as you'll see in the presentation deck that you have, not only do you have these slides, but you have a sample talk track to pull from. So as I walk through this, I'm going to speak from the perspective of Maria and add a little tip here or there for some insight that I think you should think about when you're customizing this for your own situation. Okay. Hi, so like I said, I'm Maria and I'm a Salesforce admin for Northern Trail Outfitters, and you can think of me as your trusted advisor on all things Salesforce, like a Yoda, but a little less green. And my job is all about making you and your organization more successful using Salesforce. Now, a few guiding notes. Throughout the presentation, you're going to see this Northern Trail Outfitters logo a lot. And that's again, because we're going to tell it from the perspective of Maria. So I'm going to be Maria. So you should replace every time I say Maria, or every time I say Northern Trail Outfitters with your own name and your own logo, your own company. And, keep it fun. This is just an example of how you can talk through this and explain it from your own perspective as a Salesforce admin. Okay. First of all, thank you for being here. So I really want to thank my executive stakeholders for being here, and thank you for investing in Salesforce, and then also taking some time to learn a little bit about what I do as an admin. And so I really appreciate you taking your time. Again, on this slide, customize this with visuals that help make it feel more of your own company and your own organization. Don't leave the postcards on there. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join me today. We're going to talk a little bit about Salesforce. So I am a Salesforce admin, and it's my job to help you solve business challenges by customizing the Salesforce platform. And that means that some of my core responsibilities that I go through every day are supporting users, managing data, delivering actionable analytics, and maintaining security standards. Now, these are really the core responsibilities that I use to do my job. And my job is really, again, about helping serving you to make sure that our business succeeds and that we are functioning in a very well-oiled machine process. And one of the things that is really important to be a Salesforce admin like myself is it's not only about making sure that things like our data is clean and organized, but it's also about being kind of a storyteller, really helping transform the data that everyone puts into the system every day into insights that help light the path forward. And it's also about security, right? Security is critical, and it's making sure that our data is locked down and that only the right people are accessing it at the right times. Now, I also have some amazing skills as a Salesforce admin that I might say that I bring to this, and admins, this is when you should focus on the specific skills that you focus on the most. So you don't have to list all of these, but pick a few of them. So for example, Maria is I am an excellent problem solver. So whether it's untangling complex issues or finding innovative solutions to enhance your user experience, that's something I strive to do, and I love solving complex problems. Or maybe I want to focus on data management. I'm really able to organize and clean and optimize data, which is really important because we have so much of it. And if it's not clean and optimized, then we can't do anything with it. So, all right, so get ready. Here we go. I'm going to show you some of the things that I do as an admin to help make our business succeed. So when we talk about Salesforce can do a lot of things, and this is my job as an admin to help it do all of these things. So we're going to give you a little overview of what Salesforce is. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the Salesforce features and capabilities that are available, and then we're going to talk about some of the best practices that I adhere to as a Salesforce admin to make our system run. So let's start with a quick overview of Salesforce. So at its core, Salesforce really is a platform that our business uses to manage customer relationships. Now, Salesforce started as a CRM, that is the stock ticker symbol CRM, and that's because what Salesforce started as that. But now it is a robust platform that can do so much more. You can use it to build apps and websites, We can use it to collaborate with teams. We use Slack, and I love it, and it's amazing. It helps collaboration be super easy. Slack is part of Salesforce. We also can analyze customer data by building great visualizations and dashboards. And we use it here at NTO to help manage our sales process and run our call centers. Maybe we have a support center going on. We also use it to automate our marketing emails. And so there's just an example of some of the things that Salesforce can do as a platform. And we use it in a very specific way for our organization. Let's talk about that. So at NTO and admins, this is when you would put in your own data in here to make this customized to your organization. So how are we using Salesforce today? So we've been using Salesforce for about 5 years. We've got about 220 licenses. And of those licenses, about 89% of them are active users. So that means that 89% of all of us here at NTO have logged into Salesforce in the last 30 days. And that's not bad, but we want to get it to 100, which is why we're talking today. And this past year, we've really been focused on process automation. So we went through all of our processes and we identified a lot of opportunities where we could drive greater efficiency by automating those manual processes. And as an admin, I collaborated with a number of stakeholders across the organization and used tools such as Flow to build automations within Salesforce. Now we have about 14 workflows, and we'll continue to identify more areas where automation makes sense. Additionally, we've got about 10 custom objects, which means these are custom objects that I have built to handle specific needs of our organization. And you can list a couple examples of those. I think for NTO, we've got some projects, we've got some adventures and some trips in there. But we also have standard objects that are just out of the box when you buy Salesforce. So those are those existing data models. And then I have built some customizations on top of that. And then we've got a lot of reports. We've got about 28 custom reports that I've built to help various parts of our organization keep track of what's happening when and report and create those data visualizations that I keep talking about. Okay. So now let's talk about how we're using Salesforce, right? I like to think of Salesforce as kind of like our friendly multitasker for our Northern Trail outfitters. And it's not confined to just one department. In fact, we use it all over the organization, and it helps really create that seamless integration between departments, between teams. And right now we've got 7 departments that are using Salesforce on a daily basis. And let's talk a little bit about some of those departments. So we've got our sales teams that are using advanced tools for lead management. And we've also got customer service representatives that have a comprehensive view of client interactions. And then we've also got marketing. So marketing really enables us to do those targeted campaigns. We also have our operations teams and our e-commerce platform that really have a seamless online experience because they're all using Salesforce. And then our IT teams are involved because they're always making sure that all of our systems are up to security standards, and then also keeping track of all the other systems we use in accordance with Salesforce as well. So Salesforce is kind of like a centralized hub, and it really is the catalyst for fostering this cross-functional collaboration and a holistic approach to how our business runs. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Salesforce can help us meet our company goals. So we talked about how we've been using Salesforce on like a day-to-day basis, but really what I want to focus on is how we can use it even more to really help us accomplish our goals at Northern Trail Outfitters. So our 2 highest priority company goals right now are to enable customers worldwide to conquer the great outdoors with unmatched style, innovation, and nutrition, and to provide a world-class e-commerce platform that brings adventure to our customers' digital doorstep. So in order to meet those 2 goals, I've identified some ways that we can further use Salesforce in order to get there. So we can really implement kind of our increase our 360 customer view to use personalized marketing and really even use some more automation in there. We've also know that AI is on the horizon, and it's a big one. So to stay competitive as an admin, I've been really focusing on how we can incorporate some of those great AI innovations into what we are doing here at NTO. So some of the things that we're looking at are maybe field generation, a lot of the different Einstein products that are coming out. So it's all about making us more efficient and making sure that we're looking at ways we can improve the business. And it's my job as an admin to help shepherd us there along the way. Okay, so before we learning about more some of the key Salesforce features and capabilities, I want to just take a second and point out like 2 of our big Salesforce success stories. And this is where you would put some examples of some success stories that might help your users really put to context what you do as an admin and what Salesforce can do. And so I'll just read through one of the examples that Maria might talk about. So, we had 2 different but related sales processes, and each process had multiple complex steps, but teams had a hard time connecting data from one of these processes across the organization. And there were lots of manual data entry points, which really had a lot of user errors. So what we did is we built a solution to connect the sales processes by setting up some custom objects and using those to build automations with Flow. And then what we were able to do is create a user-friendly page using App Builder to really better streamline the sales process and increase the efficiency. And I know some of you in the room probably use that page, and now you understand how great it is. Imagine what it used to be before we implemented this. And you can enter another great story here. So we could talk about maybe for Maria, we had a lot of user requests coming in from different channels, and maybe many of the requests didn't have any details needed at the time to determine the right solution. So it was a lot of back and forth and communication in order to understand what the user was asking for. So what we did is we built an app for that. So we built an app that had a utility bar where users could submit the request right from wherever they were working in Salesforce. And then once that case is created, it prompted the user to submit more information using an action on the case record. And now when someone submits a case, all the case data is displayed in a dashboard immediately so that we can track what needs to be done and how long it's going to be taking to get it. Okay, so these are just 2 example stories that are from Maria's perspective. And when you're presenting this, it's a really good idea to take a moment and think about 1 or 2 stories that you can share with your stakeholders to, again, really put context to what you do. Okay, so now we're going to go in and talk a little bit more about Salesforce features and capabilities in a little more detail. So my job as an admin is really to take my responsibilities and my skills along with the Salesforce tools that we use day to day, and then that is how we're able to deliver success for the company at Northern Trail Outfitters. So this is really where we're going to start talking about how to increase our productivity, how using Salesforce along with my expertise as an admin, I'm able to help us keep our data secure, demonstrate a return on investment, really provide a source of truth, and really provide those data insights that help this organization succeed. So the first demo that we're going to dig into is all about user management. And as an admin, it's my goal to ensure that everyone at Northern Trail Outfitters has the best possible user experience. This involves customizing and personalizing your experience and also ensuring that each user has the correct access they need to get their jobs done. And to do this, I utilize tools like user access policies, permission set groups, and the login as feature to help me manage the user experience. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the demo and take a look at some of these features in action. Okay, so welcome to the demo part of this enablement kit. We're going to have 4 demos for you. We're going to have the first one focused on user management. Then we've got another one focused on data management. Then we've got a third one focused on security management. And finally, the 4th one is about actionable analytics. Now, these are just example demos for you to get an idea of maybe some of the things you want to show your stakeholders when you are putting together your own presentation of how to demonstrate the value you bring as an admin. So for the sake of this, I'm going to put on my admin hat and pretend that I am Maria, our awesome admin, and kind of do an example presentation as a way to help inspire you develop your own version of this. Now, before we get into any demo, I want to make it really clear that you should only ever demo in a developer edition or a sandbox org. Even if you're demoing internally, you do not want to show the back end or make any changes during any of these demos to your stakeholders, no matter who they are, right? Because you don't want to prevent anyone from accessing what they should. You don't want to do anything in production. We just never demo in production. That is the rule. So when you're doing your own demos, make sure you're only doing it in your sandbox environment or in a demo org. A dev org, which I call a demo org because that's what we use. Okay, so for the sake of this, I'm going to put on my hat as Maria, an admin, and kind of show an example of maybe some of the things I might show my stakeholders to demonstrate how I implement user management as an admin. Okay, so when it comes to user management, it's all about using the principle of least privilege. So that means that I only want to make sure that people access the data they need to when they need to use it. No more, than they need to. We don't need a sales rep accessing all of the data in accounting, for example. So that all starts with passwords. And the number one request I get as an admin is, help, I need you to reset my password. So I can easily do that right here in setup in the back. And I'm just going to demonstrate the way that I kind of view the user experience from my perspective as an admin. And you can see right here, I can checkbox one of my users right here, and I can go ahead and reset their password. Very quick, very easy, which is great because that's the number one request I get as an admin all of the time. Now, the next level of that is really talking about how we can immediately remove access for users, maybe when they leave the company. And so I bet you, as someone who's a stakeholder in this company, care a lot about making sure that we dot all of our I's and cross all of our T's. And especially when someone's leaving in the company, we do not want to help them. We do not want them to access our data anymore. So the first thing that we can do is freeze users. So I can go into an individual user right here, and I can freeze that user. And that immediately just pauses their ability to access Salesforce. They can no longer log in. And this is important because I don't want to go ahead and just deactivate them. That can actually interrupt some of our existing processes and ownership of specific records. But by freezing the user, it's a way to immediately go ahead and prevent them from accessing. Then I am able to, once I make sure that this person is definitely no longer needing to access Salesforce, and I've already taken care of any existing processes that they're embedded into and transferred records that they own, then I can go ahead and deactivate the user. And so that's kind of the first step when it comes to user management. Now, the next step is granting access, right? And so when we're talking about granting access, the first thing I want to show is permission sets. Permission sets are a way for me to group together specific sets of accessibility. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's go ahead and dig into one of these permission sets here. Maybe our buyer permission set. And when you're demoing this to your stakeholders, I think it's very helpful to probably dig into one of your most used permission sets. And what's helpful to show here is here, as an admin, each permission set allows me to make unique settings for how those users will be able to access specific objects, specific apps, and specific other parts of Salesforce, including overall permissions, right? And the ability for them to edit certain types of data. And what's really powerful about this is because I can group these permission sets based on what our users do, right? So I might have a buyer permission set that applies to people in different departments across the organization because they need that buyer profile. Now, the next level of that is that then we have permission set groups. And so this is kind of where I can get meta as an admin, and I can group together those permission sets into one big permission set group. And maybe that's useful because I've got, maybe different permission sets, let's say for different geo regions, for different sales teams, but then I want all sales managers to have one group of permissions, and I can apply that to them. Now, when you're grouping all those permission sets into one big group, it's also really powerful for me as an admin to be able to mute some of the individual permissions in there. So let's say we want all of our sales managers to have access to basically a bunch of different permission sets, but there's some specific objects and fields that we don't want them to be able to edit and access, and that's something I can control right in here and mute those individual pieces of access that I care about. Okay, now that we've talked about granting accessibility and kind of shown you all of the ways that I as an admin can architect this and come up with a really great strategy, I can also help manage our users when they're having problems, right? So one of the most important things that I do as an admin is understand how our users are using Salesforce to get their jobs done. And the way I find that out is, of course, by, actually watching them and asking them. It's something we like to call SAWA, Salesforce Administration by walking around, or by zooming around, you might say. And so I do a good job as an admin setting up time with my users across different departments to actually see how they're using Salesforce. Are they using it the way I intended? are there problems that they're having? And when they have a problem or experiencing an issue, saying, hey, maybe I don't have access to this piece of data I thought I would, or I'm seeing this error message, I then can go help troubleshoot because I can log in as any user. So I can log in and see the experience that they're describing, which enables me to really quickly troubleshoot and figure out, hey, what is it that they're not able to access? So everything I see here is the same thing that my user Edwin is seeing, and maybe he's having problems accessing a certain part of an opportunity. So we can go in and dig there. And again, this is exactly the experience that Edwin sees when he logs in. So I can go and verify, oh, maybe that's a behavior I didn't expect him to say. Oh, maybe he doesn't have access to that specific field that he needs access to. And then I can go back and set up on my end and enable that specific permission or access. Okay, so that was your first demo about user management. Again, it's an inspirational demo, so take of it what you may, but just an example of maybe some of the things you want to show your stakeholders about how you do user management as an admin. Now, the next demo we're going to talk about is data management. So the goal of data management is really to develop processes to ensure that data in Salesforce is managed correctly. And as an admin, it's my goal to use features like field types, validation rules, data import export, schema builder to really help create that data model that keeps our data secure, organized, clean, and accurate. Now let's jump into the demo. All right, so when it comes to data management, it's really important that we think about how to keep our data organized, how to keep it clean, and how to keep it usable, because we can put a whole bunch of data into our Salesforce, but unless it's usable, there's really no point. So what I can do as an admin is employ a couple of tools to help ensure that the data is clean, it's organized, and that we can use it in order to really run the business and get the insights that we want. So the first kind of level of data management is talking about how to control data and make sure that the data getting put into the system is correct, it's accurate, and it's the right type. So that can start with field types. So in Salesforce, everything is stored as part of an object, right? An object is basically what we used to think of as a spreadsheet, but now it's in Salesforce, so it's an object. And each object, for example, let's look at our opportunity object, has a bunch of different fields on it, right? So the fields are the areas in which data is contained. And for each field, we can have a set field type. And so when I'm creating a new field, let's say we need to create a new field to indicate how hot the opportunity is, what kind of priority it is. And as an admin, I can do some things to make sure that when users are putting data into these opportunity records, that it's the data in the form that I want it to be in so that I can use it, so that we can all use it. And so field types are a way that I can do that. For example, if we're going to use priority, let's go ahead and make a pick list here. And what this does is it limits the way that a sales rep may be able to rate and put in here. So let's say we want to set a priority level for an opportunity. And, typically I could leave this open. I could just let my sales users just write on the opportunity, hey, I think this is a hot one, or I think this is pretty good, or we should prioritize this. No, I want data, all the data related to my opportunities to be clean, to be organized and accurate. And so I can preset what values our users are able to select when it comes to opportunity priority here. And then I can also use what we call field level security to make sure that only the right profiles are able to access and edit this field. And I can do this for every field on every object. So we want to make sure that, hey, we don't need our community login users to be able to access this. We don't need them to be able to read it, and we don't need them to be able to edit it. So these are ways that we can control the accessibility to every single field right here at that granular level on the object. Now, another way that I can ensure that our data is accurate and is useful is by using what we call validation rules. And so validation rules are a way that I can make sure when a user is putting in maybe an open-ended value onto a record that it meets certain criteria. So let's go ahead and dig into an example here. So this is an example of a validation rule that makes sure that every opportunity amount is at least $5,000. And so validation rules really allow me as an admin to set some very unique and specific requirements on fields to make sure that they're useful and they meet both our business practices and requirements, and that the data going in is useful in our Salesforce organization. Okay. Another way that I really use my data management skills as an admin is by importing data. Now, we have a lot of data that sometimes is outside of Salesforce that we need to get into Salesforce, which is my personal mission as an awesome admin. And I can do that a few ways. One of the ways I'm just going to show right now is the data import wizard. So let's say we've got a spreadsheet that one of our amazing salespeople has been keeping on their own and they haven't been sharing, but we're going to bring that process into Salesforce. And so I can use this tool to import data from a spreadsheet into Salesforce. And it enables me to match it to specific objects that we already have and map the individual columns and fields. Now, another way that I can really demonstrate my my data management skills as a admin is by showing off Schema Builder. Okay, so here's Schema Builder where I can show our overall data model, right? This is where, as an admin, I can visibly see and demonstrate all of the ways in which my objects are related to each other here, which fields are lookup fields, and which fields are required fields. So if I'm an admin doing a demo of my data management skills to my stakeholders, I actually think data Schema Builder is one of the most important things to show. All right, so that is your data management demo. Enjoy. Okay. So now that we've talked about how I am helping manage that user experience and access, how I'm able to help keep our data clean and organized and accurate, now we're going to talk about how we keep that data secure. And security management is one of my top goals as a Salesforce admin. And it's all about making sure that we protect our customer and our business data. It all starts with trust. And I'm going to show you some things that I use in the Salesforce org, like health check and access policies, to really help me do this. So let's jump into the org and see some of those features in action. All right, so here we are for demo number 3. Again, each of these demos are meant to be inspirational as a way to give you an idea of what you might want to show when you are trying to demonstrate to your stakeholders what you do as an admin. And again, I'm going to say it at the beginning of every single demo. We do not demo in production, even though you might be presenting to internal stakeholders. Always, always, always do any demo in a developer environment or your sandbox org. Okay, so this demo is all about security management. And so one of the things that I think is really important to talk about, especially when you're talking to your stakeholders about your job as an admin and what you do, security is really important. And so we're going to cover a couple different categories here. Again, this is meant to be inspirational and as an idea of what you might want to show. Okay, so I'm putting on my Maria admin hat, and I'm going to talk about how the first thing that's the most important when it comes to security is about trust. And the great news is that trust is built inherently into the Salesforce platform. And the first place that I go to check what's going on with my Salesforce organization is trust.salesforce.com. And this is where I can get access to see what the status is of individual product stacks and my specific instance. So if I go into the status area here, this is where I'm able to go ahead and figure out which, I can put in an instance here. And this is where I'm able to track what is going on with my instance. If there's any maintenance issues, I can also look at any historical issues if there's anything I need to go back and check out, as well as any upcoming maintenance. So this is where I can see where I'm going to get the new release. I can see everything that's planned and coming up. And so this is the first place that I go as an admin to make sure that I know what's happening with my Salesforce org. It's also really important when speaking of release, that we understand what to do with the release updates. So in setup here, I can show that I have a way to track all of the important updates that are here for me to take care of as an admin. And I can go through each of these and make sure that we are all ready and good to go, and taking care of anything critical that I need to do to prepare for each release. Now, the next thing when it comes to trust and security is good to show is health check. So health check is a way, especially when you're going to talk to your IT partners and stakeholders, this is the number one most important thing to show them, because health check looks across all of the policies across my Salesforce instance and helps me understand where I'm adhering to best practices and security standards and where I'm not. And where I'm not, let's say we got maybe a little bit of a permissive policy here about login attempts. I can go ahead and edit it right here. And when I edit it, it'll update let's go ahead and up this to 10 passwords. I'll save it. And then when we go back and we rerun our health check, let's rerun it. So this is a really great thing to show, especially your IT partners, because they're going to want to see how you're adhering to overall industry best practices and standards. And you get a scorecard right here at the top, as well as it makes it really easy to identify where my risks are so that I can go ahead and change those right there. Now, the next thing I want to show when it comes to security is how I am able to control at an individual profile level how my users are able to access Salesforce. So at a profile level, I'm able to set when my users access, how my users access, from where they access. So let's go ahead and just click into any profile here. Let's click into my contract manager profile. Okay, so on an individual profile level, I'm able to have a lot of control about where they log in from. So I can restrict the IP ranges that they're able to log in from. I can restrict the time of day that they're able to log in. And I can even have individual session settings that log them automatically out after a certain level of an activity. So that's another way that we can kind of ensure that our org is secure, that we're making sure that access is really locked down to what we need it for. Another thing that I can show as an admin in terms of being able to have control of security is using a login history report. So let's say that we're trying to troubleshoot what happened, and I can go to this user login history report here, and I can see who logged in from where, when, and really use this as a way to help troubleshoot or figure out even who's logging in, who's using it, where they're coming from. Okay, so those are just some of the things that we can show when it comes to demonstrating our security management skills to our stakeholders. Okay, now our final section here is all about analytics. And so I talked about storytelling, and you know what helps us tell a really good story is data. So now that we've got our users able to access Salesforce, we've got our data in Salesforce that's clean and accurate and updated and it's secure. Now it's all about telling those stories with data. And so we're going to focus on things like reports and dashboards, and even App Builder is a way to kind of bring those insights to where they need to be. So let's go ahead and dig into the demo. Okay, so here we go. This is the final demo. This demo is all about actionable analytics, which are really important to demonstrate as an admin. In fact, this is probably the number one thing that your stakeholders will be the most interested in, because they want to see all the data and what they can do with it and how they can visualize it. So I'm just gonna, again, this is a sample demo of some ideas of things that you can show. Again, just as a reminder, only demo in your sandbox or developer edition environments. Do not ever demo in production. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my awesome Maria hat on, and I'm going to do a quick demo just demonstrating some of the analytics capabilities that I have as an admin and how I can control and help craft that data story that my executives or stakeholders will consume. All right, so one of the big jobs I have as an admin is creating these beautiful dashboards so that you have an understanding of what's going on in Salesforce. And these dashboards are made up of different reports. So each of these elements on the dashboard are clickable. You can kind of understand more details about each piece of the data here. You can also click directly into one of these opportunities. Let's say if you want to go take a look deeper of what's going on here. So really easily connecting you with what you need to understand. And then each of these reports are directly related right here on the dashboard. So you can click into one of these reports. Now, as an admin, I've built a lot of these reports for you to click into and for you to look at. And you yourself, you can actually go in and play around with these and generate your own reports as well. And this is really important because this is how I am able to optimize and figure out how you are going to best consume this data, what is the most useful for you. I can change all kinds of ways that the data is displayed here. And it's really one of the ways that I'm able to bring to life all the work that you're doing in Salesforce every day. All right, so I hope some of those demos were just examples of some things that you can show your stakeholders when you're going through and explaining the value you add as an admin. Again, this is all inspirational, just as a reminder, so nothing should be taken verbatim, but this is just some of the ways we think it would be powerful to demonstrate what you can do as an admin. Okay, now we talked about what I'm doing now, but let's talk about what I can do in the future as an admin. So we all know that AI is coming, and there's a lot of great innovation happening with Salesforce and AI. So I am heavily invested as an admin in staying up to date with what's coming down the pipe. And so I do this already because we have 3 releases every year as Salesforce, and it's my job as an admin to make sure that our Salesforce org is ready to take advantage of all the greatness coming in every single release. So I spend a lot of my time making sure I am checking release notes, I'm checking all the resources that Salesforce provides to help enable me to understand what's happening in the release, and then I test things out in our sandbox environment to make sure that things work as they should. So that also includes getting ready for AI. So I'm really looking forward to figuring out how we can use some of these new AI tools to really maximize our productivity, really make that experience for our users more personalized, and really kind of make us able to operate more efficiently and more accurately and more targeted. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more coming this way. So that was kind of an overview of what I do as an admin. We talked about what Salesforce can do. We talked about the Salesforce features and capabilities that I use on a day-to-day basis, and then some of the Salesforce best practices that I adhere to. So let's talk about that for a second. So, you use Salesforce. I implement Salesforce and manage it for you. So I want to talk about 3 tips that are going to help you get the most out of Salesforce. So the first thing is keeping your records up to date. It's really important that our data is accurate. Otherwise, why are we putting it into Salesforce? Because there's no point. So please make sure that you keep your data up to date. When you have a phone call, when you need to update an opportunity stage, please make sure you do that timely. That helps everything else function more easily. Secondly, make sure that you have the Salesforce mobile app. So all of the great innovations I showed you are also available on the Salesforce app. So whether you're out at a sales call or maybe you are commuting and you need to check something or update something, you can do that right from your phone. So you can view the dashboards that I showed, you can update the records that you're using. You can do that right by using the Salesforce mobile app. And then finally, make data-driven decisions. So really, please use the dashboards that I've created and use those reports. And if you're missing something or you need me to adjust something, please tell me. This is really how I like to bring the power of all of the work that everyone is doing in Salesforce to light to really help the business continue to function and move forward. Okay, I have some resources for you as well because I just threw a lot of information at you. So of course, if you have any questions about anything and you need any help with anything related to Salesforce, please contact me. I'm your admin. That is literally my job. It's what I do. But if you also want to learn a little bit more about how to better use Salesforce, I have some really, really great basic Trailhead modules that you can check out. Now, Trailhead is the fun and easy way to learn Salesforce. It's free. You can create an account today, and it's a way that you can get some practice and hands-on without messing around in our production org. So I highly recommend you do that. And just keep up to date. I'm going to send out communications about what's happening and reach out to you. So please respond to me. Please keep the feedback loop going. And that's really my goal as an admin. So thank you so much. And I hope this helps explain a little bit more about what I do and what Salesforce is. And thanks for being here. Now I'll take some questions.